Welcome to Windsor Castle, once again the backdrop to the annual celebration of the monarch's official birthday, and once again an opportunity for us to admire the skill and the style of Her Majesty's personal troops, led this year by the Scots Guards, at the Queen's Birthday Parade for 2021. Yes, we are back in the Royal Borough of Windsor this year to mark the Queen's official birthday. And as the United Kingdom gradually emerges from the COVID lockdown, it is a smaller birthday parade, but it is still a splendid showcase for the regiments of the Household Division. Now, just 2 months ago, Windsor Castle was the setting for the funeral of the Duke of Edinburgh. Since when, the Queen has returned to public duties with great energy. It's been a very busy few days. Her Majesty was in Cornwall yesterday for the G7 summit. And within the next hour, the Queen will be present here in the great quadrangle of Windsor Castle to take the salute at her 69th birthday parade as sovereign. Now, the essence of the ceremony, when the colour is trooped through the ranks, we'll see that a little later, that's still at the heart of this very familiar parade. There will be some great and glorious military tunes, and the Royal Air Force are standing by to pay their own tribute with a flypast by the Red Arrows to bring today's event to a close. Now, we will have full coverage for you of the day's events. We'll have our special guests. If you'd like unaccompanied coverage, you can have that as well by using the service on the red button. Now, I think it's fair to say it's a very busy morning down in Windsor Home Park. A great view there of the Long Walk stretching from Windsor Castle to Snow Hill. That's where the Foot Guards are assembling. It's a very special day indeed for F Company Scots Guards, smartly in place, representing the regiment's 2nd Battalion, because these are the troops granted the honour of trooping their colour today. And alongside them there will be 3 other guards, provided by the Grenadier Guards and the Coldstream Guards. We'll be joining them a little later, but this year we're also looking forward to the sight of the mounted troops of the Household Cavalry and the King's Troop. They will be on parade to present their birthday tribute to the Queen, and my colleague Sonali Shah is with the Household Cavalry as they make their final preparations.
The beautiful Ladysmith just being groomed there. We're in the horses' dressing room, the stables at Combermere Barracks, where some of the soldiers had their alarms going off at 3 a.m, but the horses didn't need an alarm. They know something's going on, and that's because there is a sense of anticipation in the air, just a few nerves, but the horses seem fairly calm. They've had their breakfast, they know there's just the last bit of titivating to do, and then they're ready. And Tabor over here has been posing for our cameras, haven't you? Almost treating our visit here as a bit of a last-minute rehearsal before he heads a mile up the road towards where you are, Hugh.
Sonali with Table, and we'll try to spot Table a little later on. There's plenty for us to take in and appreciate as we look ahead to the parade itself. And I'm delighted to introduce my special guests here at Windsor. We're all surveying the scene and trying to take in all of the majesty of this spectacle and, of course, the immaculate smart drill of all the troops on parade. With me is Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Speed, who served with both the Scots Guards and the Welsh Guards, and as a former brigade major, he knows every detail of the birthday parade. A warm welcome to you, Andrew.
Good morning, Hugh. Thank you very much.
And with us again as we enjoy the day's events is the distinguished author, royal commentator and Daily Mail writer Robert Hardman. Welcome back, Robert.
Good morning, Hugh.
Andrew, as I said, you are a former brigade major. You know every inch and movement of this parade. What are you looking forward to?
Well, first of all, it's great to be sitting here in St George's Hall, Windsor Castle, with a superb view of the quadrangle. I was lucky enough to be on Trooping the Colour on 6 occasions during my career, 4 on horseback and 2 on foot. It's a lovely day today, and that's only going to add, I think, to the spectacle. But I'm particularly looking forward to the excellence of the Household Division and the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery. I'm looking forward to the uniform, the sounds, the music, but particularly the music of the pipes and drums of the 1st Battalion Scots Guards. I've not heard them live for many years, so that's particularly exciting. and I'm sure that everyone watching at home in the UK and around the world will greatly enjoy the parade this morning.
Well, you can see some of the crowds already gathered there in Windsor, in the Great Park. They're looking at the mounted troops, the Household Cavalry, the Blues and Royals and the Lifeguards making their way towards the castle itself. But we'll be joining them as they get closer to the castle and to the quadrangle where they'll be arriving in a short while. And Robert, given what's been going on in the past few days, I mentioned the fact that the Queen had been at the G7 summit in Cornwall. It's an extremely busy few days for Her Majesty.
It certainly is, Hugh. I mean, this is the Queen absolutely back at the heart of national life. She'll be loving watching this here, the scene of the guards approaching. But as you say, she's come back from Cornwall. She's come back overnight on the Royal Train. There she was last night, greeting world leaders at the Eden Project, and then came back overnight in order to be here at Windsor in time for this marvellous parade.
The sound that we're all looking forward to and enjoying. The senior drum major there in the centre, and the drum majors, and the bands of the Household Division stepping off from the former barrier, leading the guards as they make their way to the quadrangle at Windsor Castle. "73 men and women on parade in the bands today, drawn from all the Foot Guards regiments of the Household Division: Grenadier, Coldstream, Scots, Irish and Welsh Guards. Because this is a Scots Guards troop, a very special feature of the parade which will bring a lot of excitement for viewers, because we have the pipes and drums with us today. Don't they look magnificent? They're adding even more sparkle to the music that's been chosen. F Company Scots Guards providing today's escort, as we mentioned. They are the custodians of the colours and traditions of the 2nd Battalion Scots Guards. That's the battalion that was suspended in all those defence changes of 1993. Their colour was last trooped 24 years ago. Number 2 Guard, just following, representing the 2nd Battalion of Grenadier Guards, Nijmegen Company. Number 2 Guard, who will be commanded by Major Tom Hargreaves there, marching just behind them. And then we have numbers 3 and 4 Guard following. Number 3 from the Coldstream Guards, and they're from the 1st Battalion. And number 4 Guard from 7 Company, representing the traditions and spirit of the 2nd Battalion. Commanding the number 3 Guard, Major Ollie Morley, and commanding number 4 Guard is Major George Cazalet. Andrew, you served with the Scots Guards for nearly a quarter of a century. What would you say to viewers about the spirit and the ethos of the regiment?
Yes, Hugh, we're a very proud family regiment that dates back to 1642. I'd wanted to join from the age of 13 when I was invited to change to the Guard by a family friend. And it was the character, humour and dedication of the soldiers that enticed me in and then sustained me throughout my career. And these occasions are, of course, extremely important to the regimental family. And no doubt many of the old and bold will be glued to their television sets, reminiscing about their days on parade in tunic and bearskin. But it's not just the regimental family, it's also the divisional family, that of the Household Division. And we share the characteristics of professionalism, selfless commitment, loyalty and high standards. And we are the best of friends, but also fiercely competitive. And I'm sure the other regiments today will be scrutinising our performance very carefully.
We always admire, of course, the precision and the immaculate appearance and movement of those on parade. But today's focus on the ceremony, the uniforms, the spectacle, well, all of that sometimes diverts attention from the reality of life as trained, combat-ready soldiers.
Scots Guards have took part in every major conflict since 1642. Most recently, our last battle honour as a regiment was the Gulf War 1991. It's quite rare for us to do ceremonial duties. They are done by our young soldiers in the F Company, and it gives us a chance for those guys to do a bit of the stuff in London and then sample the more operationally focused side of the battalion.
Being part of the household division is all about 2 for the price of 1. It's jumping between those roles, and that's what we prepare ourselves for.
One day, you can find yourself outside Buckingham Palace, stood attention, smart as you want to be, and the next day you can find yourself out on ops.
Our prowess on the forecourt drill and ceremonial definitely helps our mindset when preparing for operations.
I deployed on Op Shader 12 in northern Iraq, Kurdistan. Our job was basically to take key officials, leaders to engagements and meetings, make sure that everybody got there, stayed safe while they were there.
My time in Afghanistan, I was clearing mines or the IEDs that have been laid on the ground for the civilians to be able to move from one place to another.
I've got a relationship with a few soldiers on parade today that I've been to Afghanistan with. The left guide, Colonel Sergeant McGonigal, who was in my platoon, Sergeant McEnroy, who's handed over the colour to me. We've got a really connection. We've been through quite a lot together over a couple of tours of Afghanistan. I got blown up in an IED and a warrior vehicle, which knocked me unconscious. That was a really difficult tour.
I think this is my first time my kids will be seeing it fully grown up to fully understand it, what's going on. It was something that I'm proud of, that Dad is taking part on the Queen's Birthday Parade.
My mind and heart is always with the soldiers and operations because you want to make sure they're all safe. And I'm sure they'll be watching somewhere as we sort of troop our colour and they'll be watching me parade.
Escort to the colour! Arms!
And I'm delighted to be joined now by Pipe Major Stephen Bennett and Lance Corporal Rhys Fitter, who featured in that film. Lance Corporal Fitter, we just saw you on duty in Iraq, and now you're about to go on parade as a piper here in Windsor. That seems like a world away to us.
Yeah, it's all been pretty thick and fast, you know. That's what it's about, you know, being a piper in the household division, that dual role. But it's been quite challenging, you know, especially on the parade today. I'll only have 3 people in view around me. You know, a lot of people think when they look from the bird's eye view, it's running like clockwork. But there's a lot of moving parts and it's really hard work at the end of the day.
I can only imagine. And Pipe Major Bennett, it's your job to keep all those pipers in line. How early were you able to start your preparation?
Well, we managed to start early in the year with a lot of preparations in camp, and some of it had to be done in Iraq with some of the boys on operations. Plus we had a lot of new members in the band, so it was getting them up to speed with the music and things like that with the drill. And it was a wee bit challenging being socially distanced because of COVID, but we managed to get there.
It's your 6th Queen's Birthday Parade, your debut as Pipe Major and your first one on grass. How much of a game changer is that grass?
Technically wise, it was quite challenging because all you can hear is the person next to you, and then the grass absorbs a lot of the sound. So it can be quite difficult just to make sure everyone's playing the correct thing at the right time.
Gentlemen, thank you. I think knowing all those details will make us appreciate what you're doing out there on parade even more. The very best of luck. Thank you.
Sonali with the Pipers, and indeed we wish them all the best in today's parade. Here's a good sight for you because this gives you a real sense of the various regiments of the Household Division making their way briskly and smartly towards Windsor and the George IV Gate. That's a wonderful vista, isn't it? Through that gateway all the way down the Long Walk, and gives you a sense of the troops as they approach. And the household bands first. Senior Drum Major Scott Fitzgerald leading the way in the centre, signalling to turn to the left. This parade, of course, has music at its core as well as the immaculate drill, as they all wish Her Majesty a very happy birthday. And as they make their way into the quadrangle here at Windsor in lovely sunshine today, Andrew, I'm just wondering, as we look at these troops, not just in the bands, of course, but at the other regiments as well, how does that range of skills transfer itself from one function to another?
Well, I think the people you interviewed just then showed exactly the skills that are required, and they spoke about the dual role very nicely. But for me personally, it's the attention to detail, the teamwork and pride in your joint effort on parade that are just as relevant when you're in places such as Iraq and Afghanistan. And sometimes the change can be really swift. I was on parade in 2001 as captain of number 4 Guard, and not only beforehand were we rehearsing for the parade, but we're also training for operations. We'd been given notice to deploy on a counterinsurgency operation. The week after the parade, having hung up our tunics, the call came and we deployed.
Some of the regiments, of course, not with us today, and Andrew, some of your former colleagues in the Welsh Guards currently in Iraq, Irish Guards providing support to the Zambian government, helping to tackle poaching, and I think it's very important that they have their voices heard today as well, because they'll be watching. They told us that they'll be keeping a sharp eye on the parade. They sent us these messages.
Greetings from Baghdad as our battalion, the Welsh Guards, begin our 12-month commitment to Operation Shader.
Having commanded last year's parade, we now find ourselves out on tour in the Middle East, underlining our dual role, both ceremonial and operational soldiers. But to all of you taking part in today's parade, wishing you all the very best for a fantastic performance up at the castle. All the best, good luck.
On behalf of 1st Battalion Irish Guards, just currently deployed in Zambia on a counter-poaching operation. I'd just like to wish F Company of the Scots Guards best of luck in Triplicate Colour, and also like to wish the Queen a happy birthday.
And our thanks to the friends in the Irish and the Welsh Guards for those messages. Pipers, as ever, magnificently impressive in their Royal Stuart tartan, the full Highland dress, and the plaid sash that you can just about see across the body, with 11 pleats. 11 is significant because 11 refers to the number of Victoria Crosses won by the regiment. And if we take a little closer look at the escort, who takes centre stage today, the captain of the escort is Major Sam Wesley. Many of the guardsmen, for them it'll be the first time on any major parade, so the pressure's on. And for the officers, it's also their first birthday parade. And among them, 34 of them guardsmen, of course, in the escort, 10 soldiers from Commonwealth countries. And they include Lance Sergeant Menzi Bembe, we heard earlier on, Lance Sergeant Bagini Siko from Fiji, 3 Fijians in the escort today. All the adjustments being made, everything inch perfect. And a great view of the Household Cavalry mounted regiment. 40 men and women, 40 horses taking part in the parade today. Field officer for the Household Cavalry is Major Tom Mountain, the escort commander, Captain Charlie Onslow. History of the Lifeguards and the Blues and Royals going back to the at root the 17th century. The Blues and Royals a little more recent in their current formation, but the roots of all of these regiments going back to the 17th century itself. And as we look at this site in Windsor, and as the mounted troops are ready to make their entrance into the quadrangle, Household Cavalry should underline this, the most senior regiment in the British Army. They celebrate that rich heritage, but they're proud of the progress they're currently making as well in modernising the regiment, not least in the way that they've promoted women into some key roles.
The House Cavalry is 2 regiments, the Ceremonial Regiment, which is based here in Hyde Park Barracks, and they're responsible for delivering public duties and state ceremonial. The other side of the job is the Service Regiment in Bulford, and that is the operational side.
The Household Cavalry Regiment is a reconnaissance regiment, so everybody in the regiment does reconnaissance. And they also specialise in other things such as snipers, anti-tanks, and the RPAS teams.
RPAS stands for Remotely Piloted Air Systems. We're the eyes and ears of the forward troops, with a different perspective on the battlefield.
It was announced in 2017 that women were allowed to join the combat arms, so specifically for us, the Royal Army Corps. And then in 2018, we had our first soldier and officer join the Household Cavalry.
Both my parents were in the Royal Logistics Corps. My mum joined when she was about 18. She wanted to join this regiment, but obviously she couldn't at the time. In a way, I'm kind of living her legacy. It's a sense of adventure, really. You get to play with all the big guns and stuff like that. It's all a little boy's dream, but obviously it's mine as well.
I was born and raised in South Africa. I've got a bit of a horsey background, and I'm particularly interested in the armoured side of it. So I thought, well, mixing the two together, that would be the perfect kind of dream job.
It's been fantastic to see our regiment opened up to women to join. Like anything, there's been a few frictions as we go, but it's something that we're learning and we are embracing.
Since I've started working with Females in the Army, I've certainly become more empathetic. I've become a much better listener. And I think that's what the Household Cavalry is so good at doing, is we take new situations and we mould them and then we work with them.
I think everyone just focuses more on the job than anything else, so that's how you do it.
Our soldiers make us what we are as a regiment. They're hugely adaptable. Their ability to react to change, take a new platform forward is exceptional, and they're doing a fantastic job right now.
I feel like all the work here at Knightsbridge kind of reinforces the fact that when you move over to armoured side, you're going to be stuck in a really small space altogether, and you need to work as a team to get the job done.
All the hard work and all the preparation, that involves all the regiments. And this is the result. You can see the colour party just to the right there in position. They have the duty of protecting the colour, which will be trooped through the ranks in today's parade. Two sentries are Guardsmen Richard Farnworth and Liam Keneally, traditionally the two tallest Guardsmen in the company. The colour is held by Sergeant Robert McInroy. Now the Queen's colour of the 2nd Battalion, richly embroidered with the Scottish thistle and the English rose intertwined, and 30 of the regiment's 93 battle honours were awarded in the First World War. Much more recent battle honour for the 2nd Battalion is the Falklands conflict, where they declared victory at the Battle of Mount Tumbledown, the action that led to the surrender of the Argentine forces on the 14th of June 1982. That's 39 years ago this week. And Andrew, I think it's fair to say there's a strong family link between the Scots Guards and the Falklands.
Yes, Hugh. Many sons have followed their father's footsteps into the regiment over the years, and of particular note today is Guardsman Galanders, who's in the escort. His father is a Falklands veteran. And it's also worth noting that the regimental adjutant of the Scots Guards, Major James Kelly, who will be on parade later, was also part of the Falklands campaign as a young Royal Marines officer.
The King's Troop, Royal Horse Artillery, 43 men and women in the King's Troop, 30 horses, with parade commander Major Victoria Flood. Based at the Royal Artillery Barracks in Woolwich. Their striking uniform of navy blue tunic and gold braiding, the Busby and the red Busby band. And then, of course, the guns dating from the Great War, from the First World War. And it's reported that one of these guns was actually used to fire the opening rounds of the Battle of the Somme. Mounted troops who were not with us at the parade last year, so it's such a good thing to have them with us this year. They're adding a lot of style and sparkle to the parade itself and makes it more complete. And there we have the Blues and Royals and the Lifeguards. The Blues and Royals in their navy tunics and the red plume, and there we have the dazzling scarlet tunics and the white plumes of the Lifeguards. The last two contingents to join us here in the quadrangle, ready for this parade. All the dust being kicked up on the gravel there, which surrounds the quadrangle. A little reminder of the kind of scenes we see at Horse Guards Parade, on a smaller scale, but still absolutely dazzling and splendid to see. Central to the parade, as we'll see, that colour party, and of course one of the other main contributors to this parade today will be the Regimental Sergeant Major Colin Kirkwood. Vital role today. He takes possession of the colour, hands it to the ensign. He's been honoured by the Queen today for his long service with the Meritorious Service Medal, and he's about to go to Sandhurst to take up a very important position as Academy Sergeant Major. He shared his thoughts on this final birthday parade.
F Company's colours have not been on parade since 1997. It's a big moment for all the 2nd Battalion ex-7 members and the current guys. Having been in now for 23 and a half years, I'm moving on to be the Academy Sergeant Major in Sandhurst. It's one of the greatest honours as a Foot Guards Sergeant Major. I'm going to be responsible for hopefully leading and mentoring the next generation of officers at the Academy. I started my career in F Company Scots Guards with their colour, and I'm going to finish my time trooping their colour, which is a great honour for me as well.
Real sense of pride and of course of responsibility. Andrew, your thoughts on the role that is taking place today and of course the one that he's about to take up?
Well, it's an incredibly important role on the parade today, but he alluded to the really important role that he's going to fulfill at the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst. I was fortunate enough to serve there on 3 separate occasions, and Sandhurst is a unique place where a lot of the young officers, all the young officers, are trained by senior non-commissioned officers and platoon commanders. So his leadership will be extremely important to the future, as he said, of many of the young officers in the British Army.
Now, the commanding officer of today's parade, known as the Field Officer in Brigade Waiting, is Lieutenant Colonel David Marsham. Originally a Scots Guards officer, he's now commanding officer of the Coldstream Guards, and he follows in the footsteps of his uncle, Lieutenant Colonel Johnny Stewart, who commanded the Scots Guards birthday parade back in 1997. And Sonali spoke to David Marsham a little earlier.
Good morning, Colonel Marsham.
Morning, Sonali.
A very special morning it is. It always is, but in particular for you, because nearly 25 years ago, your uncle was field officer in Brigade Waiting as the Scots Guards were trooping their colour.
It's a proud family day. My grandmother's watching from Scotland. My parents actually managed to get down here today, and my wife and children will be watching at home. My children probably wondering how Daddy's managed to get onto the telly, or bouncing up and down on the sofa.
And you were ensign here in Windsor when the Scots Guards received their new colours nearly 2 decades ago. What's it like being back here?
It's great. Yes, it's quite emotional actually. This job, the commanding officer of the Coldstream Guards, marks my last job as in regimental duty, and my first was as the ensign holding the regimental colour of the 2nd Battalion Scots Guards in Windsor.
And this is your first birthday parade, though.
It is.
What have been the challenges?
Actually, I think it's worth noting that we would have loved to have been on Horse Guards today. We're in Windsor, and I think it's a recognition that the United Kingdom has pulled together over the course of the last 18 months, and the Household Division, as a microcosm of the UK, has been able to adapt, to innovate, and to create something truly special to mark Her Majesty's official birthday.
Colonel Marsham, thank you, and I'm sure all the families watching at home will join me in wishing you the very best of luck.
Thanks, Sonali.
Yes, indeed we do, and we're looking forward to all of those taking part in the parade today. Her Majesty will be joining all the company in the quadrangle in about 15 minutes' time at 11 o'clock. We're waiting for the arrival of the Major General's party, because they will be taking their positions around the saluting base, the dais where Her Majesty will be taking her place shortly. The pipers taking up the tune first of all of Mist-Covered Mountains as the Major General's party arrives. Party includes the Crown Equerry, the officer known as Silver Stick and Silver Stick Adjutant, Regimental Colonel of the Scots Guards, Regimental Adjutant of the Scots Guards, and at the rear of this group is the Major General himself. That is Major General Chris Gicker, General Officer commanding London District and Major General commanding the Household Division. And with him, Colonel Jeremy Bagshaw, the Chief of Staff, London District, who's been awarded a CBE in the birthday honours. That's for his role in the fight against the pandemic over the past year. The Brigade Major, Lieutenant Colonel Guy Stone, also there, the Welsh Guards, and Garrison Sergeant Major Andrew Stokes, both of whom have been honoured by the Queen for their role in organising the funeral of the Duke of Edinburgh in April of this year. Today we are of course celebrating the Sovereign's official birthday. The Queen's actual birthday was on the 21st of April when she was 95. The royal family a few days ago would have been reflecting no doubt on another significant birthday, because had he lived, the Duke of Edinburgh would have been celebrating his 100th birthday on the 10th of June. And Robert, we're here at Windsor, where really the fabric of the buildings and in many ways the spirit of the place bears the imprint of the Duke.
Absolutely, Hugh. Everything about this magnificent castle and the estate around it bears the Duke's imprint. After the fire of '92, it was the Duke who supervised the restoration. He's been the ranger. He was the ranger of the Great Park longer than anyone in its history. And of course, he loved this parade. I mean, 64 years he was a colonel, 22 years a colonel of the Welsh Guards, and then 42 years a colonel of the Grenadiers. So he'd have loved this, but of course he will be in all our thoughts today. But today, of course, is the Queen's birthday.
So the scene is set for the arrival of Her Majesty within about 10 minutes. Before that, the bands of the Household Division are going to play 3 pieces of music, which we're looking forward to. First is Scottish Emblem, composed by Major Archie Ellis, conducted by Major Mark Aldridge, Director of Music of the Scots Guards.
Bottom pipes! Bottom pipes! Turn!
So this performance by the mass bands will continue with the Bellmares Waltz, combining a modern Scottish waltz composed by the accordionist Phil Cunningham, paired with the traditional Ebanks and Braes of Bonnie Doon. Magnificently played. That was the Bellmares Waltz. The final piece before Her Majesty's arrival is the Aberdonian, collection of Scottish folk songs, conducted this time by Lieutenant Colonel Simon Hoare, Commanding Officer, Senior Director of Music of the Household Division Bands. thrilling tune of the Aberdonian. The time is approaching 11 o'clock and Her Majesty's arrival here in the quadrangle. Her Majesty the Queen, escorted by His Royal Highness the Duke of Kent, who's Colonel of the Scots Guards. Her Majesty, who celebrated her birthday at 95 back in April. Duke of Kent, who is 85 this year. Passing members of the Major General's Party. Her Majesty, who was at the G7 summit yesterday in Cornwall, returned overnight and will be meeting President Biden tomorrow. It's a very busy time. The parade will begin at 11 o'clock.
God, Royal Salute! Present! Arm!
So the Queen's birthday parade of 2021 is getting underway. And in line with tradition, the bands of the Household Division will provide the musical opening, directed by Lieutenant Colonel Simon Hoare.
Hand and pipes! By the centre! Quick march!
And the music changes to Septem Juncta in Uno, that is the motto of the Household Division. 7 joined into 1. Quick March, specially commissioned for today by the Scots Guards Director of Music, Major Mark Aldridge. And keeping an eye for the spin wheel, there it is. Band turning 180 degrees, maintaining social distancing in a pretty restricted space. It's quite an achievement. Drummer Ronnie Bromhead, waiting for his contribution to be made. His father was a piper in the regiment, so it's a proud moment for them. Drummer playing 8 bars of a field signal called the drummer's call. And an orderly, Guardsman Luke Monks, marching forward to take the pace stick from Regimental Sergeant Major Colin Kirkwood, ready for the next phase of this parade.
Escort for the colour! No! On! Remainder! Change! On! Escort for the colour! Will advance! By the left! Quick march!
The escort stepping off to the familiar March of the British Grenadiers.
Escort for the colour! Halt! Escort for the colour! Right! Dress!
The subaltern of the escort, Captain Charles Longstaff, giving the order for members of the escort to realign.
Chain! On! No! On!
Great moment for the Regimental Sergeant Major Colin Kirkwood. We heard from him earlier, now preparing to take possession of the colour, protecting it with his sword, ready to transfer it safely to the ensign, Lieutenant Hugh Dingwall, who will troop the colour through the ranks today. The ensign receives the colour, ready for the trooping.
Escort to the colour! Present! On! Escort to the colour! Slow! On! Escort to the colour will retire. About time. On marker. Left ball. By the left. Slow march.
The escort advancing in slow time in three socially distanced ranks as they safely troop the colour through the ranks. Tune is Escort to the Colour by Richard Ridings. Austria's slow march. And here we have the essence of this parade. Colour being a crucial rallying point on the battlefield, reminding everyone on parade today of the lasting bond between them and the sovereign. And Andrew, it's important for everyone watching today to realise the significance of the colour.
Yes, indeed, Hugh. As you say, it's the rallying point because the battlefield was thick with smoke of musket and cannon fire, and this act allowed them to recognise their own colour despite that. And you mentioned the 11 Victoria Crosses won by the regiment earlier. 3 out of those Victoria Crosses were won in relation to actions surrounding the colours. And because they were so important, they were considered a prize worth capturing by the enemy, so they were often in the thick of battle. Today, the colour is the physical manifestation of the regiment's history and our forebears' sacrifices, so it's revered and held in very high regard.
Because of that, of course, such an honour for the ensign to be carrying the colour. Lieutenant Hugh Dingwall, he explained what he was feeling.
The colours are always held by a junior officer while trooping the colour or on the battlefield. We had tryouts looking at our foot drill, our sword drill, our colour drill, and then the panel judged on who the best one was, and that person got the job, and that was me. I was very, very excited, nervous, and ready to get training. My worst nightmare would be a windy day. You present the colours in front of Her Majesty where they're supposed to gracefully come across in front of you. Gathering the colours after that in a wind is sometimes very difficult.
Right! Turn! God! No! On! God will move to the left entry! Now! Turn! God will march back! By the left! Quick! March!
So the trooping phase is complete and the march past is about to begin. All the energy and the vigour of the march past when Her Majesty will be taking salute. Led by the field officer, Lieutenant Colonel David Marsham. The major of the parade is Major Adrian Havelock. The adjutant, Captain William Burt. Music changes to the British Grenadiers, traditional quick march for number 2 Guard, Nijmegen Company Grenadier Guards. And as numbers 3 and 4 Guards march past the Queen, the music changes to Milanolo, quick march of the Coldstream Guards. Music changes to the neutral quick march, Edinburgh Castle. Robert, watching this with me keenly, and I think it's fair to say, Robert, the Queen seemed to be tapping her foot and enjoying lots of that.
Absolutely, Hugh. It was a very sweet moment there as she just picked up the rhythm, and of course for her, I mean, as for the whole country, this is a very uplifting day, given the year we've been through, to see all this unfolding. Now, yes, it's not as big as the traditional trooping, but it's still a wonderful sight. The music, I think, as well as a spectacle, the sound as well, just hearing boot on gravel, and we'll hear it later with the horses as well. It's a really special day for her.
As we look at the final section of this march past, Andrew, just a quick word on how they've done.
Well, of course, they've done very well. They've been rehearsing for many, many days for this, and it's a wonderful moment marching past Her Majesty. As you're getting there, your chest is inflating, your buttons are almost popping with pride as you go past Her Majesty. And it's a particularly intimate location here at Windsor, far closer to the dais than you would be on Horse Guards. So I bet that was a particular special moment for all of those on parade.
God will advance! Right! Turn! Blessing! Inward! Guys! God! Royal salute! Present! Ah! Shoulder! Arm! Standard! East!
Your Majesty's Guards are ready to march off, ma'am.
Field officer has asked Her Majesty's permission to march off to conclude this birthday parade of 2021, and permission was granted. There we had the commands for the mounted troops to pass the saluting base, led by the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery, and then both divisions of the Household Cavalry. There we have the lead gun, in effect the colour of the King's Troop. The Queen will acknowledge the gun, as she would the colour of the Foot Guards regiments. These 13-pounder guns, pulled by a team of 6 horses, they're over 100 years old. They date from the First World War. Queen today in a grey and lemon matching Angela Kelly coat and hat. Household Cavalry making their way towards the saluting base. Blues and Royals first, and then the Life Guards. Field officer commanding the Sovereign's escort today, Major Tom Mountain. Music changes to the regimental walk of the Life Guards. The officer to the back of the troop is known as the Serafal Captain. Today that position taken by Captain Joshua Edwards. Mounted troops leaving the quadrangle via the George IV gate and into the grounds beyond. And here we have the great concluding symbol of the Red Arrows fly past. Well, Her Majesty clearly loved that. 9 aircraft in formation over Windsor, just to bring this parade to a conclusion. And the Queen now enjoying this very rousing tune, Great and Glorious. Beautifully done.
To your duties! By the left! Quick march!
So the Guards of the Honour, once again, march past Her Majesty with a spring in their step and a twinkle in the eye, no doubt. Mass bands playing when the Guards are on parade. Andrew, this is surely a very special moment. Be marching past the Queen.
Indeed it
Some
is.
eye contact as well, which really does reinforce the kind of bond between the monarch and the household division.
Indeed, we have a very strong bond with Her Majesty, being her personal troops. It's a great honour to be able to participate in this parade on an annual basis. I loved every minute of it, although it involves a great deal of preparation. And today I should quickly mention Warrant Officer Class 1 Dacey, the Sergeant Major of the 1st Battalion Costume Guards, and his Drill Sergeant, Warrant Officer Class 2 Walker, because they have put a lot of effort into preparing the troops, going back probably all the way to the end of March.
As Her Majesty surveys the last part of this parade, Andrew, it's worth underlining again, I mentioned that this was the 69th parade of Her Majesty's reign. She's attended this as a sovereign 69th time, which is a record, frankly, that's nowhere near matched by any other sovereign. Is it true that she knows more about this than anyone else?
Well, I think given the amount of times Her Majesty's seen the parade, she must be the foremost expert in the country on this parade. There is no one to match her. Even the Brigade Major and the Garrison Sergeant Major may lay claim to that, but they certainly cannot beat Her Majesty's knowledge of this parade.
Robert, I'm bound to say that given that we mentioned the heavy schedule for Her Majesty in the past few days, indeed since he retook up public duties after the funeral of the Duke of Edinburgh, there's been a remarkable energy and clear sense of enjoyment today, which for a monarch of 95 years is quite a thing.
It really is, Hugh, and I mean, I think it's worth remembering. Next year will be the 80th anniversary of her very first public engagement of any, and it happened right here on the quadrangle when she was a 16-year-old inspecting the Grenadier Guards in 1942. And here we are, nearly 80 years later, and she really is enjoying today, and she's enjoying the moment. I mean, we saw the smile on her face at the G7 last night, but I think people up and down the country will have noticed, for example, how in her Zoom conferences in recent months, she's a real energy to her. You know, she really is determined to play as full a part in the life of the nation as she always has. And I think for her today, I mean, we hear a lot at the moment about green shoots of recovery. Well, I think she will enjoy seeing these scarlet shoots of recovery.
Indeed, I don't think anybody would quibble with that. And Andrew, I've mentioned the Pipers at the start because, of course, it's a Scots Guards troop, but gosh, they have been quite magnificent.
They have, Hugh, and that march past when the regimental march comes on is another moment that sends a shiver down the spine. It's a great excitement, and that sound is so unique and so wonderful that as a Scots Guardsman, it is possibly one of the best things to hear on parade.
A broad smile which says it all, as the Queen has a little chat there with the Duke of Kent, who's Colonel of the Scots Guards. He must be very proud today. And, oh, I'd give a fortune for a little eavesdropping there, because she had a few things to say and she was making a point very forcefully. Just underlining your point, Andrew, about Her Majesty's very firm views on how the parade has gone, and they're having a few words with the Major General, Chris Geeker. And a look at the watch and a smile. Maybe saying, Robert, that they were more or less on time.
Absolutely, she will know. She will know to the second, and of course it's wonderful for her. I think today, this is not marking in any sense a sort of the end of a period. This is a very busy summer in prospect here, and tomorrow the eyes of the world are going to be on this quadrangle again, because she's going to be greeting the President of the United States here. Joe Biden's coming, the 13th serving US president she's actually met 14 US presidents, because she met Herbert Hoover after he'd been president, and there is no one alive in America or anywhere else on this earth who has ever met 14 US presidents. So once again, we've heard a lot about soft power in the last few days, and the use of influence and persuasion over coercion, and really this has been an embodiment of that. This absolutely sums up what the country is about and what our monarch is about, and I think she will have been very proud, as indeed all these foot guards will have been proud to have been here today.
And this site, which is summing up what the armed forces are all about, and certainly the forces of the Household Division. What's in store for them in the next few months, Andrew? Just give us a sense of what they are looking forward to.
Well, as already mentioned, some of them will be back here tomorrow for the visit of President Biden, so they'll be getting back onto those boots this evening, getting to the high polish that is required. Others will just be enjoying a small break, perhaps, before they deploy to other places. For example, the Coldstream are off to the Falklands and also go on exercise to Jamaica. And then, as we've mentioned already, the Platinum Jubilee is something to look forward to next year, something that's really exciting for the nation, for everyone who can participate in these sorts of parades. And if I could put my tunic back on for one day, it would be next year.
Better have a word with the Major General, I think, very quickly, Andrew. And as a former Brigade Major, surely you'd get a free pass into that.
Guy Stone and I are good friends. We served together in Afghanistan in 2009, and we often remark on that wonderful job, the Brigade Major's job, as being one of the best in the British Army. But I don't think even that would get me back on parade for one day.
Well, certainly the Household Division will be very prominent in those celebrations next year, Robert. And just for viewers, obviously, who'll be wondering what's in store during that Platinum celebration, what do we know?
Well, we know a very full programme of events. As Andrew's mentioned, a full birthday parade. Moving from the Saturday to the Thursday, there's going to be a pop concert at Buckingham. Well, a full concert. We don't know whether it's pop or classical, probably a bit of both. We're told top world entertainers, and there's going to be an enormous, up and down the country, a revival of street parties, the Big Lunch, as it's called now. The Queen was at an event to mark that last night in Cornwall to thank the organisers of that. So it's going to be one of those great moments when the whole nation comes together, and of course not just the Jubilee, but she's also looking forward to her Commonwealth Games coming to Birmingham next year as well. So up and down the country, and indeed across the Commonwealth, across all her realms, we've never known a Platinum Jubilee. This is uncharted territory, and she will be at the heart of it.
We are looking forward to it. Well, the Queen's Birthday Parade of 2021 at Windsor Castle has come to an end. Yes, it's been a scaled-back event, yet again this year, because of the pandemic restrictions, but there was nothing scaled back about the quality and the precision of the parade. And as Robert was saying, it certainly whets the appetite for next year's parade, a very special event, forming part of a weekend of celebrations for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Now, as for this year's event, well, you can enjoy it all again, and why not? Our highlights programme is on BBC Two this evening at 8 p.m. But for now, from my special guests, Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Speed and Robert Hardman, and everyone on the BBC team at Windsor, thank you for watching and goodbye.